I'm Garcia. I'm a speech language pathologist with 20 years experience working with kids and families. And I do home speech therapy with the company One-to-One Kid Talk, a company I created. And I just love working with kids with autism spectrum disorder and with families. So today I'll tell you actually about a couple kids that I worked with today. And we'll be discussing like 5 tips or some of the advice I give to families when I do home visits. Okay. Let's see. So today I was at one of the autism walks and I ran into a mom and her child was there. And we got into a conversation and I said, if you want, I can just kind of work with your child right now. She was 5 years old and I had all the toys in my car and I could give you, my clinical opinion and let you know what I think. So when I went and got my toys, came back, I actually grabbed it right here. It's my big box of toys. And the first thing I did is I wanted to get the child's attention, right? So I'll just go ahead and do it right now. So open up the box. And started with this toy with Play-Doh, and she quickly pushed it aside. Actually, I started with bubbles, which she pushed aside and said no. Then I showed her Play-Doh. She said no. And then I showed her make-believe foods. She was like, no, not interested. And then we got to the Duplo box with toys in Duplo blocks, and she loved it, right? So that's my first tip in getting her attention is finding out what they enjoy. What do they enjoy to do? When do they have fun? And this little girl, she liked to put things together. She liked to build things. She liked puzzles. And she loved the Duplo blocks. And so that was the activity that I worked with her on and kind of explored her communication. A lot of kids on the spectrum really like physical activity. Bouncing on an exercise ball is something they usually enjoy. Maybe a blanket swing. I did this today with one of my clients. And you get so much more mileage when they're motivated, right? When they love something, then they're going to request it. And so we were using the blanket swing, me and the dad, with the boy who is, he's an 8 or 9-year-old. He's pretty heavy. The blanket was ripping a little bit. You could hear it stretching. But he was much more talkative during that activity than he was during any other activity today. And he also had all kinds of eye contact because he was so motivated. And I'm sure you have examples of your child when they really want something, how they can look you right in the eyes and they can ask you for it, right? So as far as working with them on communication at home, you're going to get so much more mileage at home if you pick things that they like and you give them choices. Okay. Also, once you get their attention, what's the best way to get that, to keep their attention? And you need to get face-to-face. Even sometimes we'll sort of put a hand here on the side to direct them if they're not looking to where we want them to look, to see what we're offering, if we have pictures or other therapy materials. But you want to get their attention and their vision. usually getting face-to-face. Well, it just is. It's the best way. Even though some kids have that hyper hearing where they can hear things even if it's not right in front of them. I mean, or, they know what's going on. But other kids are very easily distracted visually. So you need to be right there in front. Okay, that was tip 2. Then you want to observe and wait. So with this girl today at the autism walk, we got out the Duplo blocks and I let her lead and she started putting things together. Many times I see parents, they kind of go into a teacher style or a teacher mode and tester, and they're like, what's this? What's that? What are you doing here? And there's not as much communication from their child if the parents are filling all that space with words. So a good tip is to try to speak as much as your child is speaking, at least in the beginning. If they're not talking a lot, you go ahead and hold back and kind of match their level of conversation. Sometimes there's kids that you do need to push yourself into their activity, because if you just waited for them to start talking, it would take a while. They'd be very content just to keep playing. But the kids who are verbal and are communicating, you need to observe and wait and maybe make a comment on something that they're doing. For example, on this picture with the dolls, and say, oh, look, Oscar's hungry. That's much better for many reasons for communication than saying, what color is Oscar? Or what is he eating? Instead of the questioning style. Okay. All right. So that was 3, 4. So I'm going to go over some toys for requesters. So these are kids who are in the stage, they're verbal and they can request things. And once again, I like using these toys that are motivating. You can go to the dollar store and get some spinners. They're usually $1, and you pull it and it flies up in the air. And these are toys that the kids need help with. So you're holding on to at least part of the toy, and they're going to need your assistance, and they're going to have to request more, or again, or spinner, and they're going to have to communicate to get that reward, which is the toy doing what they want. This is another fun toy. They just changed this. They made it even better. The latest version is at Target and Walmart. It comes with these cups now, and this game is a visual. It keys in on the kids' visual, if they like visual stimulation. So it shoots it and they can watch it. And if you have kids who like to watch things roll or wheels spin, this is usually a fun toy. And there's many parts that make it difficult for them. They can't put the tracks together. They might not be able to pull the lever back that shoots the car, or they're going to have to communicate to ask you to do it. This game I get a lot of mileage out of. Also trying to teach kids, if on the higher end, how to be more flexible and show them different ways to set up the tracks. And it doesn't always have to be your way. That there's other ways to do it. Let's try it another way, and that teaches flexible thinking. All right. Turn taking. So we just went over requesters. And for requesting, like I said, you want toys where they need to ask you for help. And then for kids who are working on turn taking, I like to use a sports scooter. You can push them back and forth on it. So this is nonverbal turn taking right now. So it's like something that's going to keep their attention, and they go, and you can have a parent on the other end, and you push them back and forth. So they get the sense of taking turns, which is how conversations work. I talk, you talk, I talk, you talk. And indoor snowballs. This is another fun one. I'm throwing the snowballs at you, you throw them at me. They get to run and jump. It keys in on that sense, that physical sense of movement that they enjoy. You can get all these toys I usually get on Amazon now or Target. Though the snowballs I haven't seen at Target. Okay. Another big tip I give parents is using visuals at home. You get a lot of mileage out of visuals. I'll go over a couple different things you can do. There's object choices. This helps with comprehension. So you can say, milk or juice and have both of them there. And they can try to comprehend, they'll understand better what it is. Here's another picture of that food choices. Do you want broccoli or raisins? And then you're teaching them vocabulary, raisins and broccoli. That's the goal. Toy choices. So I always give the kids choices, and try to get them to label or say the name of the toy or say the name of the food. And then here she's teaching adjectives with objects and choices. Do you want the little cookie or the big cookie? Right? So now he already knows cookie. Now they're working on the adjective big. With your visuals, try to put them in the place where they're going to use it. So here's an example of washing hands. That helps them understand what they're going to do. And then here's an example of pictures of foods on the refrigerator so that they can point to them, even if they're not verbal. All these pictures I would get from Google or supermarket or cartons. I really like getting the packaging of the materials, like the Dorito bags. Because whatever brand it is, the kids usually, they know that brand. As you probably see when you go shopping. Another great visual aid is First Ben. This is great for working on kids who have trouble with behaviors. Here's a couple examples. So first, today I used it, if what they wanted to do was play Pop the Pig, but we had two other activities that we're working on first. First, it's trampoline, then Pop the Pig. Here's another one. It's just set up visually different. And here's one with icons. This is nice. This looks like what you'd find in a school, in a classroom usually. But first book, then truck.